It is a damn good day to have a damn good day. And we're live. This is the Damn Good Day Show. We're here with my friend Evan Paliotta. I can't believe we've only been friends for a few months now, but I feel like I've known you forever.
I know it's weird because you can interact with someone for 2 seconds. You can look into their eyes and you just know.
Yeah.
Right? You know that you're like of the same feather, so to speak, right?
100%. And it's like if we had gone to the same college, we probably would have been boys in college.
Exactly.
And judging by your existence in this earth depicts your entire friend circle, who you're around. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of these folks are flocking to Miami or just leaving wherever they grew up in general because they want that community. And I think that's one thing that's lacking today.
But I feel like a lot of people don't think that maybe Miami is a big community. I would think that a lot of people think it's almost this sort of fake place where people are trying to be too crazy and just party all the time. And I would assume a lot of people actually don't get that community. I think we're some of the lucky ones because we joined this group of people through pickleball and other things where I love the people we chill with.
Yeah, but there is a lot of that fake stuff.
For sure.
There is a lot of like
I found myself going to 11 for the first time recently.
Oh, how was that?
I mean, it's an experience,
right?
Man. It's pretty dope.
All right, which floor were you at? Or is that TMI?
The second. Yeah.
The second? All right.
Yeah.
All right. I heard third is when it starts to get a little too fun.
It gets crazy. And by the way, for everyone listening, half my face is numb right now. I am on a ton of Novocaine because I just had 4 cavities filled. And I'm not proud of that because I used to get so fired up about not getting cavities. My mom used to just heck me all the time. Like, you got cavities? And the reason being is I've actually had like another 5 cavities about 6 months ago. Why do I have all these cavities? Well, 3 or 4 years ago, I got on the whole fluoride-free toothpaste train because there was some sort of article and I made that slight optimization.
In the water and
I
everything,
just stopped thinking about it then, thinking I was making the right decision. And because it was fluoride-free, I've just been getting littered with cavities. So I've just recently made the switch to fluoride. I now know that it's not good to consume fluoride, but you can brush your teeth with it. It helps a lot.
It does. I did the same thing with aluminum-free deodorant. You know, I was like, oh, aluminum, it's going to clog your pores and all this stuff. You know, when I was out in Hawaii.
That too.
Yeah, and I just smelled like crap.
What's that
the whole
brand
time.
For the aluminum brand that everyone gets?
I don't, is it Tom's?
It might be Tom's. Yeah. Scott, do you know if it's Tom's?
Tom's is the brand, yeah.
Yeah, they have a bunch of healthy
That
stuff.
was one of the best marketing campaigns ever.
Yeah, it's like super clean. It's just, you know, the white label with just like a couple plants in it. That's all you need.
It's interesting when health trends go viral. So recently it was with oat milk. I remember I was buying Oatly all the time at Whole Foods, and Phil Michaels is this awesome business success coach, and he recommended Oatly to me. And now it turns out Oatly's not the play.
Why is that?
Because there's extra ingredients in it, and you need to get really pure oat milk. So the best one now is called Elmhurst.
Never heard of that one.
There's only 3 ingredients. It's literally like water, oats, and one other thing.
Or you can just make it yourself.
Chef Michael makes it himself.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Is it?
So easy. You get what is it called? Not a tea bag. There's a tea bag. There's a particular bag that's really fine grained.
It's
what is that
sheepskin?
called?
No, sheep something.
Doesn't matter. But all you do is just fill that with either crushed almonds or you fill it with, you know, oats, and then you just pour water on it, and that's all.
Do you know how much you would need? Does a Quaker?
It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, you have to use a lot. We used to do it in Hawaii all the time.
It's a process when you get the coconuts, you know. When
do you make coconut milk from that?
We just take straight coconut water.
Yeah.
Pop the top, pour it down.
You get a nice machete.
You know, we haven't gotten a nice machete in.
Because I was thinking you can just go to Crandon Park and there are tens of thousands of coconuts, and I can just, you know, strap on a harness, climb those trees, and I feel like people do that. But
if you want to take any of these coconuts anytime, go ahead. You have to be sort of a savage though. They're tall. They're high up there.
I know. Yeah, you definitely, you know, scrape up your
But you
inner arms
ask
and
yourself,
legs.
what's the actual value of the coconut versus the amount of work that goes into it? And then you got to decide, is it worth it?
Oh, I like putting in the work, and I don't really care about the reward.
That's
you know,
so true.
Like the journey.
Well, yard
matters
work is a
more.
great example of that.
Exactly. Just like getting that sweat and you know, just that meditation, right? Because everything nowadays, you're like in your phone, or you're constantly thinking about something that's not the immediate task at hand. But then, you know, you do something like yard work and it becomes a meditation. It's just, you're solely focused on that. It could be archery. It could be, you know, sports like pickleball. We're not thinking about anything else. And I think that's why we love it so much, because you get people together, you're just focused on hitting that little wiffle ball. Are you familiar with Howard Gardner's theory of, it's like his 8-fold theory of intelligence? So I think he's a social psychologist. And also I'm an idiot, so I'm gonna mess a lot of this up. But basically there are, you know, in school you go through really 2 intelligences, in his words, which are, you know, verbal, English, and math. And there are so many other types of intelligences. Like, you can't say that Eminem is not linguistically intelligent, or that LeBron James isn't kinesthetically intelligent. And then there's interpersonal, intrapersonal, there's spiritual, and there's 1 or 2 more that I'm missing on. But, you know, my theory of intelligence is basically, like, you know, when you have a character in a video game that has all of these bars, you know, like power, speed, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, whoever has the most of those bars filled across all 8 types of intelligences, I think that makes you more intelligent. So even though if you have 100 in math, you know, in this metaphoric bar, but you don't know yourself, you don't know how to interact with others, you can't, you know, swing a baseball bat or a golf club, and you can't do any of the other types of, or you're not apt at the other types of intelligences, I don't consider you intelligent. Like, you're good at math, at that one thing, and situational intelligence, but you might not be holistically intelligent. So, you know, I like trying to be well-rounded, but
So it's almost there's a street smarts, right? There's that level of intelligence. There's emotional intelligence. There's memory intelligence. You can just recite things. And then there's being able to put it all together. It is interesting. Some of the brightest people are total idiots at certain things.
oh yeah,
And it blows my mind. Like, super geniuses, you know, don't know how to do their laundry, you know?
and most in like math are not really good at communicating with people.
Yeah. And that's what's interesting about the school system, because it's such an anxiety prone year when you're end of junior year going into senior year as a high schooler, because all anyone ever talks about is what college did you get into? And that's the social circle. Oh, you went to an Ivy League? Like, oh, shit. Like,
Yeah.
You're the man.
Yeah.
But really, none of that at all made sense. And now, once you hit your late 20s, early 30s, that is all just beyond even at that point, because people have had times to let their actual and other levels of intelligence that's outside just societal intelligence blossom.
Yeah, and different experiences that they've had. You know, like I was, you know, I think I'm pretty good in the business world now. I mean, long way to go, obviously, but, you know, my first career was farming in Hawaii. Then I was, you know, in residential real estate, then, you know, investment banking, sales, and trading. And it's like, how
But it's
did that
interesting
happen?
because when we say, it's almost the way you said that, it's farming in Hawaii, as if that isn't, in a way, it's almost like that doesn't require much intelligence or skill.
Yeah.
But that experience, to me, is what sort of attracted me to your brain when I first met you. No homo. And essentially, being able to have that love for something so obscure like a plant is fascinating.
Yeah, and then I come here to your house, which is an oasis. It's an absolute oasis. I'm jealous.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely jealous.
Mikasa, Sukasa.
Yeah.
You never know.
I'm coming in a black hood and stealing some of these coconuts.
All day. We need someone to.
I know this. It's almost like weeds at this point.
I'm putting a bird feeder right here. I already have the bird feeder. I just have to go to Home Depot just so I can do work and just watch birds right in front of me.
Do you know what birds are around here? Are there any good ones?
I see blue jays all the time,
Nice.
but nothing more than that.
Nice.
It's squirrel proof, so we'll see. We'll put it up to the test.
You know, those guys are smart. Those squirrels are smart. Oh, I never told you this story too. Yeah, animals are so smart. One time, we had $50,000 worth of white sugarloaf pineapples. And if you don't know white sugarloaf pineapples, they taste like pina coladas. They're beautifully white on the inside. They're about $30 to $40 for a full-size pineapple. Not this dull $2 to $3 pineapple stuff, like 10 times the price, but they were beautiful. And these pigs in one night ate every single pineapple in the middle of the night.
How many pigs?
We don't know. We have no idea.
They just came in squad deep.
They just, it could have been one.
So you were really out there in Hawaii in terms of the land.
Yeah, there was, we lived off no grid. There was no power.
There's just wild pigs rolling around.
Yeah, so I lived in like a tent, like an outdoor tent.
Is that a yurt?
It was yurt-esque. It wasn't exactly a yurt. It was almost shaped like that, but it was, I didn't have
More
walls.
like a Lord of the Rings pop-up tent?
Effectively. I didn't have walls. There was a stream next to me. Pigs would run through my bedroom and squeal. 22 to 23. I did that. Right out of college, I was like, all my friends were getting these, 30, 40,000 a year jobs, and none of it really interested me. I had a history degree. Didn't really see where I can apply that. And I was like, there's a lot of the world I need to learn. And so backpacked Europe as, lucky kids get to do. And then when I got back, I was like, there's still so much more of the world I need to explore. Did a 37 state road trip with my stepdad, went to like 15 national parks, and then, scooted over to Hawaii and read like 50, 60 books on all the classics of like economics, politics, sociology,
did you have that
psychology.
That insatiable urge to learn when you were in school too, or did it hit you more so after?
The second I left school, I realized what a waste that 4 years was.
That's interesting.
Like what a waste that 4 years was. Yeah. So, yeah. And once I read, I think I might have read either Nietzsche, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, or Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, like some like foundational philosophical work that I feel like everyone should read at some point in their lives, preferably young. But, that's when I was like, oh, this is what I should have been learning. I should have been learning foundational skills about, how to, about yourself, like how to look within the economic system, right? Like people would give me money. I didn't know what it meant, right? It also helped that, my mom worked for Madoff for 12 years in the 80s, and, my parents lost my whole college fund basically. And I was like, oh, why did that happen? So that takes you on that journey. So you just basically have to follow the omens, right? And whatever gets thrown your way, you just have to recognize it. Just like give it the attention, whether it's good or bad. Pay attention to what is happening to you and act upon it and react to it, right? Because, I feel like that's the best way to go through life. So even when we just started talking to one another, I was like, oh, have more conversations with this person. Like he has good energy and a good aura and clearly good intentions.
Well, so few people ever have the courage to do what you did, which is take a complete gamble and just send it and try something completely out of the ordinary.
Well, it was short-term thinking. I was like, I don't want to go into the real world.
It's easier to do it before you have a child, relationships, a dog.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
also interesting that Europeans seem to have it down in that sense, because they almost encourage you to go travel before you get into the work life.
Yeah, they have a gap year. Like everyone I met abroad, I backpacked 33 countries maybe. Everyone I met was either, German or Dutch, a lot of Israelis after they're done with the army. They go. A lot of Canadians take a gap year from 18, like after high school, from 18 to 19. But yeah, the Europe specifically encourages that. And I know like even Germany, they have 1 month of like, you have to take the vacation.
Totally.
I have unlimited.
Well, they say everyone tech
it.
companies say you have unlimited PTO, but it's the funniest phrase, because try me.
Yeah, it's like you just never take it.
Oh yeah, you can just never work a day in your life and just have paid time off if you get your shit done.
Yeah, exactly. And like when I'm a manager and people will take too much time off in my eyes, and I'm like, hey, what's the deal here? And it's contra to what our company policy is, and it's interesting like that.
It's a double standard.
It really is a double standard. It's like, hey, work to the bone, which is fine. Like I feel like that's all well and good, but still, you're missing that health component on the back end.
Well, one thing I liked what you mentioned about the intelligence thing, and I talk about it a lot on this podcast, is you mentioned there's different levels of intelligence. I feel there's different levels of life mastery. There's relationship mastery, having an amazing relationship with your husband or wife or spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend. There's financial mastery. You've been able to rise to a point where you have financial freedom. There's health mastery, where you wake up and you have energy, and even though you spend $10 a day on your meals, but you somehow are able to nutritionally stock your life up to be able to play pickleball for 5 hours straight and just feel like a champion. There's a Beastmaster, meaning you have an awesome dog who runs around the world just by your side. You know, there's different levels of happiness. There's emotional happiness, just peace with yourself. And all of these things are so important. Maybe not the Beastmaster, for me it is.
How do you juggle all of those types of masteries? Like, do you think about all of them at once, or do you try to focus on one thing until you're of a certain level of proficiency and then move on to something else? Like, because I always struggle with that.
I'm not the type of guy who is perfectly amazing with his calendar. From this time to this time I do this, from this time to this time I do this. I think I try to surround myself with incredible people that I think support that type of growth in me. Mm-hmm. And I was just doing an audit recently of the main people I've been hanging out with the past 6 months in Miami. And I had to stop and say, holy smokes, this happened, right? I'm just around amazing people who I believe have much of that mastered. And I think I pick up little skills from them. But I don't know. There's ebbs and flows. I was talking to one of our mutual friends, and he was mentioning that he was been struggling with depression. You probably know who I'm talking about. Yeah. And I was like, man, thank you so much for even telling me that. I really appreciate that, because most people would just never say anything. And I always like to comment that this is the Damn Good Day Show. I mean, you go to my Instagram, you guys know that the vibes are high.
Yeah,
I'm in a good mood, but everyone goes through ebbs and flows. Sometimes I'm just like not in a good. Even earlier today, I just had a bad 3 hours. I started thinking about my mom. I had these cavities being filled. I just had a weird thing at work. I just wasn't in the right mood. I just felt from my inside out, I just was not comfortable, you know? But that's so normal, and that's so okay. And you need to realize that's a part of being human. That's emotions. What you can do is try to learn as much as you can about those emotions, specifically about how those emotions affect other people as well, because it helps you get on with life and go through life. And just being able to understand people is, in my opinion, probably the most valuable skill you can have, because we're meant to be in a tribe. We're meant to live in a community. This pickleball community has brought so much happiness into my life, because it's this tribe, it's this community.
Yeah,
and
the bangers.
The bangers. I love having Sky live here at the house. It's this community we build, you know? It's the vibe. I don't like living alone. It's not my thing.
And when robots take over, we need to differentiate ourselves by being more human, because they can't do it.
Right. And I'm all for robots. I'm down to have a robot here
exactly.
all day.
It's things that are inevitable are going to happen. Yeah. And it's fine. See how much time, but don't fight it. Just let it happen, but just be more human. Do things that you cannot program a computer to do. But
humans
exactly
also make mistakes. Like, my mistake was not switching my toothpaste and not going back into it. Now I'm just getting, I got so much cavities now, bro. It sucks. I'm just getting drilled the whole time. I'm just like, I was thinking about, the whole thing was just an emotional roller coaster. But
real quick, so back to the depression thing. So I've been suicidal before, to the point where, I was working on Wall Street. I was basically cold calling between like 500 and 900 people a day on cold call on like a rotary phone, no automations. And, you know, if you got 1 or 2 leads a day, that was a good day. But most days you just got hung up on the whole time. And it was rough. And, you know, you have to wear a 2-piece suit with a tie or a 3-piece, you know, and also in New York, there's no plants. So it's just concrete. You just go to work and from work. I lived, you know, about 100 yards.
Money to pay your rent.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't go out and hang with my friends because it was all commission and I was barely making anything. I was about 2 or 3 decades late for that business model. But yeah, so I've been there, and I'm so grateful that I've been there, because I feel like life in a lot of ways can be binary, in the sense that, like, in order to experience the highest of highs, you must experience the lowest of lows. And let's do a thought experiment. Like, if you were unwaveringly happy 24/7, 365 your whole life, would happiness even exist anymore?
No.
That's just it. That's the state. You know, it's almost like you need 2 things before one thing. Meaning that, like, if everything was white, would there be darkness or black? That's, you know, you need contrast. Life is full of it.
Perspective.
Exactly. And contrast is the only way to get perspective.
Pain teaches you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, luckily I would, you know, every day back then I'd say, you know what, you know, like those signs that say, like, oh, free beer tomorrow. I took that as inspiration. I was like, all right, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, I'll end it tomorrow. And I don't mean to bring it down, but I'm taking it as a beautiful thing, right? But it's like, I'll end it tomorrow. And then the next day, okay, tomorrow. And then that's all what you do. You just take it one day at a time. And I know that it is almost an epidemic. Just like there's a lot of depressed people out there, right? You can see it in the prescription statistics. And
a lot of it has to do with what we're eating, has to do with what we're consuming. I mean, our generation, Sky brought this up, but our generation has the capabilities of living to 100 plus, because we at least now know that a lot of the things that we grew up on, high fructose corn syrup, fruit roll-ups, Pop-Tarts, corn toasties, all the best things in life are terrible for you, right?
Yeah.
And we know
just a
now.
dopamine hit.
I mean, if you just eat one bad thing, it's so crazy how much your body gets affected and your mood gets affected. And I struggle with it because deep down I'm a savage. You know, I think a lot of us, everyone in this room is a savage. We like to have fun, and we like to, you know, think that we still got it. But then your body just wakes up and says, no, you are not. So it's always also balancing that line of living, and are you living or are you just killing yourself faster?
Yeah. What's your take on, like, GMOs and that stuff? Like,
try to avoid it, but I think just generally speaking, I do very well in terms of eating mostly whole food, sticking to a very basic type of daily diet. I do Ezekiel bread, avocado, and eggs pretty much every morning. I do smoothies from Daily Harvest. Mm-hmm. So I get about 14 smoothies every 2 weeks, or 12 smoothies. So I have a smoothie ready to go. And then for dinner, I believe a lot in just kind of like the carnivore diet. It works really well for my stomach. So I'll do, you know, some like a steak with avocado, some nice oil.
So like fats. Like,
but then I'll also just house, you know, 30 medjool dates. Yeah. I'll have ice cream late night. I'll eat chocolate cake. I have such a sweet tooth. It's funny when you have a perfect day and then, I don't know, 9 o'clock hits and you just all of a sudden feel like you deserve it. And just smash something so terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. We give ourselves too much credit for going through the day sometimes. I knew a kid back in high school that he was a football player, and he would need to earn his bed. Like, if he didn't have a good day, he would sleep on the floor. He would have to, like, straight up earn his bed. Like, if it, you know, just if you crush the day, great, you get a good night's sleep. So it's almost like you're training your brain to do the opposite besides the cake thing, but I do it too. You know, I'm a little chunky. Like, I'm a fat kid at heart. In high school, I was like 250, you know, like 6'2", 6'3", 250. And then in Hawaii, I got down to 180, but now I'm back up to, like, you know, 230. So
You look good.
It
It fits your body well.
Yeah, I carry weight so well.
You look great. Yeah,
Thanks.
I would, yeah. I mean, I think you're just the weight for whatever your body makes sense for.
Yeah, I got some power in those pickleball shots.
You know, it's tough. Like, we have a good friend, Phil. Phil is a performance coach for people that have successful businesses, Olympians, and he always talks about all the best people in the world have coaches, right? They're just not leaving it up to chance. They hire someone to make sure they're doing everything right. If you don't have coaches, you're going to not do everything right. It's just pretty much fact. Most people aren't that disciplined. I do pretty damn well in terms of, sauna, workout, gym, but everyone has their vices. For me, I love getting super stoned late at night.
Yeah.
I just love getting baked, watching Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and I love just the munchy vibes and the thoughts I get, and sometimes I make bad eating decisions during that time, but it's also really awesome and it makes me happy. But I think that you just need to always monitor yourself. So I'm a big fan of the Whoop.
Is that on your wrist?
Yeah, that's what that is.
What
so
is that?
It tracks all of your sleep, your heart rate. It tracks all your variables throughout the day. It tells you how good of a sleep or bad of a sleep you've gotten. And it's crazy, man. You know that after a night of drinking, you feel like shit and you don't want to.
That's why I don't do it anymore.
Right.
I get like 3-day hangovers now.
Right. And it's a great example.
Yeah.
When you have a wearable and you do it, you realize just how bad it is for your system. You see that it just doesn't work. Even if you eat one bad food, you can see how it just ruins your sleep.
Yeah. I don't even know.
So I think everyone should.
You got to measure things. If you care about it, you should measure it.
Yeah, this is literally your health. This is your for COVID. Imagine they just gave everyone a wearable instead of everyone just the government paid for everyone to be able to track their health. What a simple concept.
And then you can pay people on a blockchain if their health is up or something. Like, wouldn't they? They're like Charlie Munger, the Warren Buffett's partner. He says it best: "Show me the incentives, and I'll show you the outcome."
That'd be such a cool government program. You get paid like tax relief if you're wearable. I mean, people would definitely F with it and rig it somehow. But
yeah, I feel like there are ways to make it like pretty perfect though. I feel like we have a lot of great technology companies in this country. And if you can just apply it to certain problems as opposed to pure profit taking, then, we could actually solve some really critical problems.
But solutions that simple, infrastructure ain't happy with that.
Yeah.
Existing ways of life ain't happy with that.
A lot of middlemen.
We don't want to solve problems. There's too much jobs and food on the table and people making money off of unsolved problems.
Yeah. Or, perpetuating the problems.
So then you get down to the question of, obviously, changing the world is important and donating and being a great person and leaving your impact. But sometimes I ask myself, can you change the world or can you really just change the circle you're around?
Are we too idealistic, you think?
Tell me more about that.
Meaning that, it's pretty well known that as you are young, you are more prone to having a revolutionary mindset. It's always like, the 20-year-olds, oh, let's start the revolution. And then as you get older, you become more conservative, right? And I mean, we're still in our late 20s, early 30s, right? So I feel like I'm sort of switching. I'm becoming a little bit more realistic, but I still want to hold on to that like childlike idealism of all these problems are really not very complicated and you can probably solve them using simple solutions, but you just need to get everyone on board. And I realize from being at companies, from, being in various circles, how hard it is to really get everyone on board to do something together. And I mean, you can see it now in certain parts of the world, like Iran, right? Like they're all sick of this one thing. Like there's always one thing that brings people together, or can split them apart. But for us, it's pickleball a lot. Like we wouldn't hang out very often, and not just because we don't enjoy each other's company, but just by life circumstances.
Well, even when I go to a gym and I'm like working out, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Exactly.
But now pickleball is literally a social workout activity.
Yeah, and then we can go out and have a bite to eat after, or are just like hanging
We're
out.
at least able to say what up and dab up and just do that little thing, which
Yeah.
I've never had in a sport.
Yeah.
You know, I've never had that.
And by the way, you're getting so much better so quickly. It's awesome. I love seeing it. I love seeing it.
I mean, you and Chef are gangster, and Sue's got the best serve.
Yeah, Sue's the best one out of
But
all.
yeah, back to the idea of idealistic. I think the older I get, the more I realize sort of this is going to be really bad, but just more half-ass everyone does their job. I just think a lot of people just barely do anything throughout the day. They do the bare minimum, especially in corporate America, especially at companies. Everyone's always doing the bare minimum to get paid.
Well, what's the incentive to do more?
And if someone comes in and tries to pave a way, it's almost that they get pulled down because it screws everyone, right? There's protection in being able to do bare minimum. You don't want someone to come in and inspire someone that doesn't want to be inspired. So I think that it has a lot of advantages to people that try. If you try, you realize you can go in and crush it. You can make an impact if you lead the way, if you take initiative, if you lead by example and you show what's up. I think that's really exciting to me because it made me realize, holy shit, I can be a successful business owner. And being on this podcast, I knew this would happen, but interviewing so much super successful humans, many that have become good friends, and realizing these guys and gals aren't that much better than I am in many capacities. Maybe it's possible I could build a super successful company one day. Maybe it's possible that, me and Sky could be out there in a podcast studio and doing this thing big and having incredible guests like yourself and showing up. And maybe it's possible, but I didn't think that when I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah, well, did you see it? Did you see people that were this successful that are like, oh, you're not that much different. You didn't maybe you got lucky in a certain way.
That's a great way of saying that because when I say mid-20s, because my life actually took, I would revert back and almost retract that statement because I was blessed by getting involved in network marketing when I was 20 years old. Someone texted me saying I have something you'd be dank at. I didn't know if I was selling drugs or anything, but I was like down to hear it out.
Well, if they're using words like dank.
I was the social chair of an unrecognized fraternity. I would just throw parties and I just loved doing it. And I heard about Vima. Listeners of the podcast are very familiar. I learned that of the network marketing industry.
Wait, what is Vima?
Stand for vitamins, essential minerals, mangosteen, and aloe vera. It's a network marketing business.
Got it.
And their core product was this liquid supplement that they then put into an energy drink called Verve, and it went viral in oncologists.
Oh, Verve was good.
So good.
It was really good. I remember that.
What school did you go to?
SUNY Cortland,
Okay.
upstate New York, for baseball and history, nothing crazy.
So that hit, and I was at the right place at the right time, and I basically brought it to all of the Northeast, and that's not a lie. Besides Canada, I was at UNH, and it just blew up. And
so, did you go from school to school,
selling? I took a
it?
year off of school and traveled to 30 states, and was just in people's backyards pitching hard. At one point, I was making 10 G's a month. Life was so sick.
Wow, that's amazing. Was that a pyramid scheme?
So it got shut down as an alleged pyramid scheme. Yes.
Got it.
It's a great soundbite right there.
I don't think a pyramid scheme is inherently evil or wrong.
Well,
it's just
even before you even bring that up, so they ended up
Sure.
actually winning the court case. They ended up settling. So BK Barreco's company Vima went from a $220 million company to -7 in 2 days based on an allegation from the FTC that they were a pyramid scheme.
it's like some WeWork stuff.
So I actually had him on my podcast, episode 7, right? Or 8. And I messaged Vima and BK. I messaged BK because we were always friends. 3 years after the fact, I'm like, hey, BK, what's good, man? Like, hey, have you ever told the story? And would you be interested in coming on my podcast and talking about Vima? And he's like, it's actually been 3 years and we just closed completely. So yeah, why not? Funny story. We actually recorded the podcast. It was my 8th episode online. It was the most crazy story I've ever had in my life. I had the most inside scoop of the second largest industry in the world. It was a big deal. And the audio was just absolutely effed. Remember that, Sky?
Yeah, that's
That
a
was-
nightmare.
That was I felt like the world's biggest douche. I can't do anything right. And I remember calling him and saying, "Hey man, just going to be really honest with you. The audio is tough. What can I fly out and we just do it at your house?" And he said, "Absolutely." And thank gosh that happened, because then we did it in person and it was just so much better, so much more legit. But yeah, I was biased. Long story short, I just went on a tangent. They were in a pyramid scheme, but they were doing things that the government considers a pyramid scheme. Like, for example, network marketing companies, all you're doing is buying a product. If you're buying an actual physical product, right, then you're getting the money you pay for. It gets really funky when you're buying training or a non-fictitious product and you have to actually be on an auto ship of a product in order to qualify for commissions. So nowadays, comp plans, if you get a certain amount of customers, right, you can just qualify and make commissions. You never actually have to purchase the product. But that was one of the big rulings or findings from the Vima case.
Got it.
But life in business is a giant freaking pyramid. In network marketing, you can out-earn anybody above you. In corporate America, you have to really work some inner circle stuff. Your manager's always going to make more money than you. So I believe that corporate America is a much bigger pyramid scheme than MLM.
Yeah, well, the most highest paid person in corporate America should be the salespeople, in my opinion. Right? It's really tough. I've tried it. I'm more of an ops guy, but nonetheless, the salespeople can earn more than the CEO. It's just that they get the offsetting ownership, right? So it's like whatever you're bringing in is going towards those shares or whatnot. And granted, I'm in SaaS, so it's a little more fixed. But there are a ton of other industries where that ownership is not as it's not basically share based. It could just be in the business might be worth more because you brought in a certain amount more in revenue, and then you can sell it for a higher multiple. But in SaaS, the multiples can be upwards of like 200 or infinitum. So it's a little different.
It's
But
like you said, though, but nothing happens without a sale.
Yeah.
You can have the best engineering product, but until you sell something, salespeople are vital to an organization.
It's the WD-40 of an organization, makes everything go smooth. And when money is coming in, you can make a lot more mistakes.
But when I got into that MLM, I saw a bunch of people making an absurd amount of money that went from not being able to speak to be speaking in front of thousands of people. And I realized, holy shit, this other world exists. My parents didn't. My dad's worked the same job for 32 years. Shout out my dad. He always listens to my podcast.
What did he do?
He's going to be working for cigars.com soon.
Nice.
Which is actually a big impetus of why we started cigars.com was
it's a bonding experience.
Retiring. Well, me and Matt, my co-founder and longtime best friend, I was at his house. He lives in Miami. He's a UFC and NFL sports agent. So I'd go over to his crib and he'd watch UFC fights and we'd smoke a cigar and have a glass of whiskey. We did this for like a year. And then one time we were smoking, we were like talking about how our dads are still working. They're in their early 60s, 63, 64. And we're like, man, what's a business that we could do that when our dads retire, we could do it with them and they could help us out? And we looked down and we're like, why not cigars?
Yeah, that was the conception of it?
Literally what happened.
Wow.
Cigars have been the same forever. And granted, literally we're calling a cigar a cigar with an S instead of a C.
Just slightly different.
Yeah. But it's redefining. But that was the tangent I talked about earlier with it opened my mind to that it's possible to make a lot of money. It's possible to do something different than your 9-to-5 path.
With just effort. Right. And that was like the start
and
of
I lost
this
all
tangent,
that money.
right?
Like I didn't save any money. I learned all the financial
Well, you were in your
mistakes early.
20s.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. That's your MBA.
Right.
Right. You don't need to pay for an MBA.
I paid for everyone's dinners. I didn't realize anything about financials. I didn't know. But it's good to learn that in your early 20s than your late 30s.
Exactly. I actually had a thought back to what we were talking about with coaches, because I don't think we extrapolated on that enough. Do you think that a coach needs to be a living, breathing person in front of you that's constantly giving you that input, or do you think that you can do it with books or with courses and some of these other avenues of learning?
The answer is absolutely and of course. you could definitely, like, Jim Rome is one of, like, the best teachers of all time. If you listen to Jim Rome, like, you're gonna feel.
Was that Tony Robbins' mentor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to his stuff, you're just gonna on top.
You're just gonna
of
be
the world.
hyped.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's written anything could be immense. If I died tomorrow and you listen to my past podcasts, it's like coaching. Every time we listen to a podcast or listen to or read a book, it's coaching us. With that said, I don't think most people have the dedication. That's why group workouts exist. That's literally why the industry of working out exists, because people are naturally lazy. They need someone to coach them and push them to do it.
Yeah.
You know, they'll go to Barry's and spend $30 a class, which shout out to Derek. We're going to be having him on. He actually owns the 3 Barry's in Miami. But you can do all those same workouts at any gym for $20 a month, $10 a month, but people are paying $30 a session.
Worth your body weight, a lot of them. But yeah, no, we take the path of least resistance a lot of the time. And I often feel that, you know, when I actually put a lot of effort into something, it tends to be when that path of least resistance, for me, I care about something so much that I would actually rather do it and put in the effort than not do it and feel like a piece of crap about myself, right? I don't know if that made sense, but it's so, like, for example, right now I'm, you know, writing some children's books, and
I love that. I love that for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I want to teach.
What a segue.
Yeah, right. I want to teach kids, you know, 5-year-olds, when their, you know, neuroplasticity is at its highest and when their personalities haven't fully developed. I want to teach them about philosophy. I want to teach them about some of these concepts and money. Some of these concepts you think that only adults learn, that often you don't learn until your mid-20s. But why can't you learn it when you're 5? Or at least plant the seeds when they're 5. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
When I asked you about why we're in the hot tub, there was other females, and it was a vibe, you know, just not me and Evan in the hot tub. Though that would be a good podcast. I asked you why you started, and you said because one day when I have children, I want to be able to read them these books.
Yeah, I want to teach them what no one taught me, in a way that they can be receptive to. And, you know, I don't. You know, I just wish that I knew some of these things earlier. But that's also the beauty of the generational progression, is that, like, you know, if you look at your parents and you're like looking at all their flaws, you're like, oh, I wonder what their parents' flaws were like. And, you know, and they're just getting, you know, incrementally better. And that's what we're trying to do. And so I feel like, you know, I'm going to spend tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars on just like printing and making these books and illustrators. I'm going to do it all by myself, you know, self-published and whatnot. But I don't care. Like, I don't even care about flipping a profit or anything. I just want the ideas to go into people's heads.
And typically that philosophy breeds the best type of books.
Yeah, because I could do what I want,
you know?
Right? And, you know, luckily I save, you know, 70% of my salary, and I can just, you know, put that aside and just do something for fun. And
our Lord and Savior Joe Rogan said earlier on the podcast I was listening to, he said that your uniqueness is what makes you so unique. The second you try to fit into other people's models, it kills you. But if you can find a way to be completely yourself and then just let that out, it'll naturally develop, but you can't be like someone else. You can when it comes to branding, but your bare person, your way of teaching is going to be so unique.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. But
also
having the courage to do that is, you know, it can be difficult.
Because you're going to launch and maybe, Lord behold, you sell 20 copies when you wanted to sell 5,000, and then you sit in yourself and you say, I'm a failure. But it might have not have been that. It might have just been the marketing channel. It might have been the way you're presented it. It might have been the lack of execution. There's so much other things.
Yeah, and listen, not everyone's going to love you. And that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, right? Because we all want to be liked. We all want to be heard. We all want to feel like we're important and valued by our community and even by strangers. But
totally.
That's why I would.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, though, because I want to have children one day, and to think about the idea that It's the most selfish, kind of egotistical thought process. But your sperm, which is going to produce a child one day, what if that sperm read these bomb-ass child books when he was 5 years old? What would that sperm grow into? What would that human that came out of your existence do? What could they do? I mean, it's also the spawning of the most obsessive, scary, football, soccer dad, right? That's just screaming on the sidelines. But what could he do? I think there's a fine line between hooking up your kids up and prepping them for growth, watering the flower to make sure he blossoms, versus just being a controllative, douche that just doesn't let the person develop naturally. But there's definitely guidance that you can give children, and that's what Phil actually started doing. He built a company called Tembo Education before he became a performance coach, and it sends automated text messages to children of impoverished countries from the ages of 2 to 5, teaching the parents what to teach the kids and show the kids.
That's a great
to help
idea.
them develop their brains.
Is that still around?
Yeah, Tembo Education. Check it out.
Tembo Education.
Yeah, Phil's freaking
all right.
awesome.
Bookmark this moment, because I got to take a look at that. That sounds awesome. What a great idea, and it's so simple too. And there are more cell phones than people now.
Yeah,
right.
And because that's what he thought about. He said, "What's the best way of getting out there?" And there's a lot of people in these third world countries that they don't have a house, they don't have a hut, but they have a cell phone.
Yeah,
a lot of people have cell phones.
A lot of people have cell phones.
So that's the way to reach them.
Freaking brilliant.
It's also crazy once with Starlink coming out, when everyone has access to Wi-Fi, shit's gonna get crazy.
I can't wait.
You get just,
and all his products are so beautiful. Just even looking at, like, I would never think like, oh, that router is pretty, but it's like, no, even that is just gorgeous.
I mean, if I think of my 3 most influential people, I mean, Elon Musk is number 1.
I'm gonna write a book on him, a children's book on him. That's, because they're all about teaching about people and ideas.
I just read that he officially bought Twitter.
When?
He just followed through with the purchase of Twitter.
I know earlier in the week it was supposed to go through at the, what was it, 54.20 was the share price.
But it fell off for a while. He pulled out, but now it seemed like it's happening again.
Now there's all this Kanye's back on it.
Yeah.
And this world is, the funniest outcome is always the most desirable. Who would have thought that, and one guy tweeted him saying, hey, you should buy Twitter. And he goes, oh, that would be dope. And he just did. That's hilarious.
That's amazing.
That you can just flex like that.
That's so crazy.
Right?
It's inspiring.
It really is.
Because it's so normal for someone to think that. Yeah, okay. If I have $5 and I want to go buy a Coke and you said you should buy that and I have $5, I'd buy it.
Yeah, sure.
If I have $500 billion and someone wants to buy a $43 billion company just because you do it, that's savage.
Yeah, and he's not using all his cash. He's maybe using $8 billion.
Granted, he probably has this master plan, but things like Starlink and everything he's done with the solar industry and Tesla.
Guy's Midas. Everything he touches is just the best thing ever.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's in the Starlink thing's extra crazy because if you think about, I don't know the percentages, but imagine only 10% of the world right now has access to internet. Imagine the other 90% just gets access all of a sudden. You get all these new brains and ideas just rolling in tight, just being like, what's up?
Yeah, the human mind is just that much. The collective mind.
Do you
is so much
think
bigger.
that we will survive the population growth that we're on and the amount of people to food problem, or do you think that there will be a crazy global event that just wipes a lot of people out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think every time Thomas Malthus is brought up in society, it never comes true. So, for those that don't know, Thomas Malthus was the guy who said that, the population is going to be a problem. He said that in about, I want to say the 1820s. Around then, he was the second most popular economist ever, other than Adam Smith, or the second most famous, back in that time. And every single time the population has grown, tech has improved to the point where we can feed ourselves. The output would grow further. Plus, we're actually having the opposite issue in a lot of these developed countries. Typically you need about 2.1 people. The birth rate needs to be about 2.1 for every couple in order to sustain a population. And I think ours is maybe 1.9 and shrinking. Japan might be 1.2 right now. China with the one-child policy in the 90s, that generation is now, having kids.
You're going to have that
now.
gap with COVID.
And now there's a lot of boys in China because they, unfortunately, the girls weren't as desirable in that culture back then. So now you have these weird demographic trends going on in certain parts of the world. I think Nigeria is the highest at like maybe 7.8 around there. I want to say, last time I checked. But no, is the entire world population growing? Because I know that we're at about 8 bill right now.
This guy's looking it up. He'll let us know.
Yeah, but I know that in our culture, it's actually shrinking, which is pretty crazy. So I actually think we may need to have more children. I know, be a little bit more selfish, and I used to think that we shouldn't have kids. It's super selfish and, it's destroying the planet and everything. But I really became confident in humans' ability to innovate.
I think we should have kids. I agree with you.
This is the stat, and it's just from Google, the first thing that pops up, and it says the world's population is expected to increase by 2 billion persons in the next 30 years, from 7.7 to 9.7 in 2050.
Damn. Okay, so those are probably coming from countries that have higher infant mortality rates and some of these other places. So I would look in certain parts. That's one reason to travel.
This dramatic growth has been driven largely by increased numbers of people surviving to reproductive age. So
nice.
It's kind of like a natural.
Yeah, I think we should have kids. I think
good.
we need to have kids because it just pushes on the
Thanks,
world,
Scott.
right? Because I know a lot of really cool people that just don't want to have kids, and I think that's really awesome. And I also think that people that say they don't want to have kids just say that because it's way easier to say that when you're just not in love and with the perfect partner. You're like, I'm not gonna have kids, right?
Yeah.
You'll screw that. And then one day, you strike gold, and you're like, you're going to a sperm bank, and here you are. But anyways, I think that kids are good, but people need to have planned kids. I just think. You just can't be, spreading your seed anywhere. You got to plan that ish out at some level.
Or only a select few.
Right.
What is Elon has 9 now?
Yeah, I mean, those kids, I'm so stoked to be alive for those kids to grow up.
Yeah.
I want to know the personalities of those kids.
Oh, they're going to be a bit messed up in the head, because, I know a bunch of child psychologists for very wealthy people, and they're always messed up because they can never achieve the success that their parents, or statistically they won't.
Well, a lot of people that are only only children tend to have almost a disadvantage at some level because a lot of times that they're the only ones, so they get spoiled or they're just constantly told A, X, and B. A lot of times I've seen and read that it can be tough for only children because they feel alone and things of that nature. You came out really freaking well, my brother.
Not really. I guess this is all a facade.
I think, and that's when we get to the facade question. You ask, can we idealistically change things? The other part of that conversation was, I just think people are so stupid at some level. We're just, if you want to break down intelligence, we are just running around like a bunch of horny apes, just trying to reproduce and seek serotonin and trying to have fun and.
Yeah, we're pretty predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think George Carlin said, imagine how dumb the average person is, and imagine half of them are dumber than that.
We give ourselves too much credit at some level about what we can do. Deep down, we just want to feel loved. And for that reason, sometimes I ask myself, it's okay to be depressed because people are crazy. People want to get a wrap around things. Sometimes life's great and then other times life sucks. And that's the world we live in. But you can minimize the effects by surrounding yourself with really good support group and people. But I always say, to have a lot of friends, you need to be a good friend. So if anyone's ever struggling without the good circle, you have to build your circle. And you do that by starting. You have to set the impetus,
Mm-hmm. And I'll take it back to its base. At the end of the day, there really are only two emotions, and that's love and fear. And if you just put out a little bit more love, no matter what that looks like, right? You could have more love digging a hole to plant a tree. You can have it just by holding a door for a stranger, or by paying for someone's meal, whatever it may be. Just a little bit, and just give a little bit, and man, you'll get so much more in return. But there's also a lot of hate out there. So just try to, avoid that and try to shine the light there.
You know who I love? Chef Michael.
Oh, he's the salt of the earth, man.
So me and Sky were over there recently because we're doing a damn good day segment. So basically we're trying to figure out a way, like, can I help him build what he's doing while still, doing something that I'm doing, because I want to learn to cook too, like, really bad. I really think that if I was raised by a chef, I would be a full-fledged chef. Yeah. I love cooking. Like, Len Jones' Kitchen is legit.
Just don't compare yourself to him, or else you'll feel awful.
Oh my gosh,
he's
his
damn good.
His level of confidence in that environment so crazy. I mean, he runs like a mini restaurant with so much skill and swag. Granted, that's what he does every day, so that he doesn't have the same level of fears. Like, you get a dinner party. I get overwhelmed when I have a dinner party because I'm thinking, I gotta do this, and this, and I'm trying to entertain a guest. He does it so seamlessly.
Timing's important. You just have to have a knack for it. Yeah.
But we're filming some stuff, and one thing, the first video that's coming out, this guy's working on it right now, is how to make his bone broth, and he's been really sick. So now that he's better, he's been drinking this bone broth, and it's amazing. It's really unbelievable. He showed me how it's okra, right, Sky? Okra. Mm-hmm. He takes okra and heats it up and boils the okra, and it creates this almost gelatin-like consistency. And then you take avocado, okra that's in this like gelatinized form with bean sprouts. Is there anything else that would go in the bowl? I think that's it, Sky.
Such an odd combination.
Cilantro.
It's cilantro. So that's in one bowl. And then in the other bowl, he takes bone broth. You can either make it fresh, takes bone broth. Even before that, slices up turmeric and ginger, put a little olive oil on it, sizzle it a little bit, fill it up with bone broth, bring it to a boil. Here comes the kicker. Poached eggs. Drop poached eggs in there. Let them cook inside of that. Take that whole mixture, pour it onto the avocado bowl. Now you have this bone broth soup. And oh my God, the last 2 times I've drank in this soup, my HRV, which is like your heart rate variable, has been off the 9s, pumping. And the night before, I was not a good boy. That was the 11th. And it was a friend's party, and the next thing you know, I got a table.
You're a good friend. You're a good friend.
Yeah, we out here.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. So like everyone needs to be drinking this.
Yeah, make that video, send it to me.
Yeah, you're gonna have a damn good day, because if your gut's good, you're good. That's
I've been doing Super Gut. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So, and I think we talked about this briefly, but another podcast I love is the All In podcast. And there's a bunch of VCs that invest in all these companies. And one of the guys, David Freeberg, invested in this company called Monique, which became Super Gut. And effectively what he said, and I'm just reiterating, right, is that your microbiome is basically like a rainforest. And when you have a probiotic, like a kombucha or, just any of these probiotics, you're basically introducing one strain of bacteria into your gut, but the whole rainforest is swallowing it up. It's almost like putting a house cat in the middle of a rainforest. But with prebiotics and the super gut stuff, what you're doing is you're replacing the rainforest with another rainforest. And what that's doing is, allowing you to really clear yourself out. So I've been doing that for about, a month now, every day. That's my first meal of the day to break my fast.
What is it? Is it like a
It's a powder.
Greens?
Yeah, it's a powder. It uses,
put it in water and shake it up.
Yeah, I use almond milk. But yeah, water is what they recommend. But yeah, flavors are amazing, and I feel much better.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out, because we've only identified about 20% of the actual organisms within your microbiome. There's still it's one of the biggest secrets still.
The human body in general.
I had SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, for 2 years, 2+ years. And I have a whole SIBO community on Facebook with 700 people in it. Because I made a YouTube video that went somewhat viral. It's got 80,000 views. And
Nice.
it's just telling people about my story. I ended up beating it with the elemental diet. But that was a really shitty part of my life, but I learned a lot about the gut.
Mm-hmm.
So I love all of this stuff. And I'm always down to try. The one thing I did learn is supplements, herbs, all of that shit. Most of it you don't need. What you really need to do is fast. You need to drink more water, and you need to just clear your system out. You need to eat less. Eat less, fast, and drink more water. Those are like the 3 biggest things I've learned throughout this entire thing. I overeat. I love sweets. It's just not good, especially before bed. It's like the worst thing to do.
Yeah, it's so because our brain is still in the, the Sahara mode where we're like, when will the next meal come? So
Right.
we just bulk up, right? I can eat 36 ounces of steak, no problem, right? With all the sides and everything, and it's just curbing that.
Another reason
It's
why I
freaking
want to do the
impossible.
ice bath challenge, Sky, is that I need to train myself to stop being so comfortable, because fasting's uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
you can live 3 days without water. What is it? How does it? It's 3 days without water.
2 weeks without food, I think, maybe more. It's
like 5 minutes without oxygen or something.
I mean, your brain, you might be a vegetable by the end
It's
of
like
it.
it's like X minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. If you ever watch Naked and Afraid, they'll tell you.
I would tap
Yeah.
out immediately at that show.
Oh, I would
Want to know
love
why? The
Why?
mosquitoes.
See, that is in the ear. I'm fine getting bit. Once the buzz in the ear, can't deal with that.
I'm not even fine getting bit. I would get, like, if you get to bring one item, I would bring a mosquito net.
That's a popular item because people can fish with it. It's like a multi-purpose
For sure.
thing.
Yeah, that's why.
I would love that. Oh, that sounds so fun.
It would be fun to do Naked and Afraid, but for like 6 hours.
Why don't we just like go to Alligator Alley? And just
That'd be a fun spin-off. The Damn Good Day Naked and Afraid edition. You sign up with a partner, you get thrown into the Everglades. You have to survive 1 day.
Yeah. Most people, I feel like, would just sit there. I feel like they wouldn't actually go for it.
Right.
It's also swamp. They have one in the Everglades.
Well, cooking outside is a very therapeutic thing. Something I love about Chef Michael is that his enthusiasm to not just cook for you, but also to clean and have the entire experience is very contagious and exciting, because it's cooking to me is the most fundamental dope thing that everyone needs to be good at. Unless you're going to get really, really rich and you can hire a Chef Michael, or you just go to like restaurants all the time, it's not very feasible for most people. It's expensive, but anyone can become a good cook. But you only learn to cook from your parents unless you went to chef school. So everyone needs to invest time learning to cook.
Or just take one lesson. Just take one cooking lesson. That's it. Because then you understand the temperature. You understand, spice
get
combinations.
inspired.
Yeah.
You just need to get inspired.
I did it when I was young. When I was 10, I went to a kids' culinary school. Like after baseball practice on Saturdays, just me and a bunch of kids would go to this community center, and they'd have like 2-3 hour cooking, lessons where our parents would come in and we'd feed our parents and stuff. And it was a really nice experience. And I cook 100% of our meals. I think my girlfriend and I, we've gone out in the 3 years we've been together 3 times. Only out to eat 3 times.
Your girlfriend's cool. I love her.
Yeah.
She's you got a great human with you.
Oh yeah, the most street smart person I've ever met
She's
in my
legit.
life. Yeah,
She's a thug.
yeah,
She's high energy.
she is. Best salesperson I've ever met in my life too.
Seriously, she's amazing.
Yeah,
But I love that whole inspired thing, because I can think of 2 moments right off the bat that inspired the shit out of me. One time I was working out when I had to go home with everything that happened with my mom. I went back to Albany, and Sky's brother Adam was living there. And I worked out with Adam, and I just went powerlifting. He's like big into powerlifting. So we did like a leg day and a back day, and he just pushed me to, go heavy and lift heavy. That 2 days of working out with him put me on for about 2.5, 3 months. I just been all out, nonstop working out, lifting, inspired off the wazoo. That one time hanging out with Chef has put me on to being a cook again. Like really, buying all this stuff for the kitchen. I want the kitchen
The
to look
ninja
so legit.
loves the ninja.
Loves the ninja.
Yeah.
He needs to get paid and compensated with how much
He really
he loves
should.
that ninja.
He really should. He's probably led to a solid like $2,000 in purchases just from.
Well, the most annoying thing about cooking is all the cleaning. It's all and he loves the ninja because the ninja makes it so that you can do everything within the ninja and you don't have to clean.
Yeah. See, I do all the cooking. Lady does all the cleaning. That's like you need to have that
That's
balance.
a fire balance.
It's a great balance. I do all the organizing. She does all the cleaning.
Do you do a drying rack? Do you have a drying rack next to your sink?
It's not like a rack. We just have like a mat.
Yeah. So I have a towel. I just use like a towel, right?
Yeah.
But Chef doesn't use a towel. He always dries every plate after he washes it and just puts it away. And I was thinking to myself, that's an amazing idea, a simple habit that would take 5 seconds to dry, and now it's not sitting there staring at you all day long. You can either put it in the dishwasher, which is the world's greatest invention.
Among them, yeah.
Or you can just, among them. Yeah, among them. Yeah.
It really is.
What is the world's greatest invention?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would sit.
Everyone here has to pick the world's greatest invention. Probably the car is probably pretty good.
I would think, yeah, car's good. Well, wheel. I mean, if you really want to go back, but so dumb.
That's true. The wheel,
Oh
the
God,
wheel's fire.
what an idiot. Yeah, the wheel is so good. I'm thinking like
Wi-Fi.
I would do
the internet, obviously.
I would go back to like a CPU, like
Fire.
like the von Neumann architecture of CPU and GPUs, like how computers can store memory, and yeah, just like computing power. I don't know if that's an invention or a series of inventions, but love me a computer. I mean, we couldn't do this. We couldn't. I couldn't. You couldn't text me your address. You couldn't, schedule this online.
It would have been tight to be born during the .com age.
Yeah. Well, you mean like coming of age during the .com
Exactly.
age?
So like Bitcoin, for example, if we were born 6 years earlier, I can almost guarantee that we would have had a much higher potential chance of being Bitcoin millionaires.
Yeah.
Because we would have had more money, we would have had more street smart, we would have had more experience. Timing is everything in this world.
It really is.
Obviously execution on the timing is also, but you need to be at the right place at the right time. I think there was a study done that 7 out of 10 of like the largest companies had to do with timing.
Yeah, that was a TED Talk, I believe. Yeah, I wish I could. I'll send it to you after, but yeah, no, luck is a huge component of these. I mean, think of YouTube. There was a ton of video hosting platforms before, but then you need a certain technology in order to bring it all together. Google wasn't the first search engine. There was Ask Jeeves, right? Your internet butler that basically would answer the questions for you, right?
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, like none of these things took off, but yeah, it's usually MySpace. I remember my MySpace. Do you remember your MySpace song?
Oh yeah, it was #1 Spot by Ludacris, and I had Austin Powers as the background. So it was like it hit.
I think I had a T-Pain or something.
Oh wow, great choice.
Yeah,
probably would have been
like
my
I'm gonna
second,
buy you a
honestly.
drink or something.
Buy You a Drink is one of the greatest songs ever recorded.
Dude,
just so you know, ever recorded. Seriously,
I'm partial to Wu-Tang, but yeah, no, T-Pain slaps back in the day.
Big L, Sky.
Mine was 50 Cent.
Which one?
Yeah,
I think started with Wangsta.
Wangsta.
I forget where I went after that.
I just listened to Gatman and Robin the other day. You remember that one with
Classic,
Eminem?
yeah.
Classic, right? I've been getting into my 90s hip hop lately. Like branching out from Wu-Tang, like, Nas and the Big L, Big Pun. Like some of the flows and how back to the intelligences, like how these guys can combine all these lyrics together. And like, I was listening to Big Pun. He goes, dead in the middle of little Italy, little did we know that we riddled the middleman who didn't do diddly. And I was like, how do you come up with that stuff?
This is crazy.
Yeah, right? Like,
if you ever want to be inspired or motivated, just listen to the last verse of 8 Mile of Eminem. It's like the best thing ever.
yeah. Even though he's so great, I still feel like he's underrated. People don't give him the credit that he's due.
Well, rapping is so fun because, I mean, I rap a lot. And nine out of 9.2 times, it's really bad.
Yeah.
But when I hit that lyric and I hit that line, it's like, oh,
It feels good,
this
right?
man just came.
It
Let's
feels
go.
good.
Let's go. I'm here. Let's go, baby.
I'm like I was describing, the children's book writing to you, and I was like, I feel like I'm a rapper for children because when you have like a sing-songy Dr. Seuss-esque
Well, it's fun to
cadence
think.
and tone.
It's crazy that these people can think so many verses ahead
Yeah, and
while rhyming it.
like freestyle blows my mind. How someone
Well,
can do that.
a lot of freestyle isn't real freestyle, so you never even know if it is freestyle. Like Lil Dicky is a legend,
Yeah,
but
Really good.
his stuff isn't a real freestyle. But it's marketed as a freestyle,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't have a really path. It's just
who's that guy on Harry Mack? Do you know him?
that he's legit.
See, Harry Mack is legit.
Harry Mack's legit.
Yeah.
This guy, you showed me a bender of Harry Mack.
Yeah, he's off the dome.
Yeah,
Harry Mack's a G.
Sky, we gotta hang out more.
Yeah, definitely.
You're a good dude. By the way, is your brother older or younger that just powerlifts?
4 years older than me.
He's
I'm
old. Okay,
29.
so that's fine. Because if he was younger and like powerlifting, I feel like that's such a morale destroyer, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if you
yeah,
have
yeah.
because I never experienced the sibling type rivalries, I guess, or if
Yeah,
he
I mean,
was-
I'm into different ways of being active for sure. I mean, I like the powerlifting and stuff, but I like kickboxing, rock climbing. These types of things are more interesting
You're
to
a
me.
sleeper.
Sleeping over here.
You're a sleeper, man.
This guy's the GOAT.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone needs a Sky in their life.
Everyone needs a
He's
Sky.
an OG homie. Keeps it real. Keeps it 100.
Come play pickleball.
Yeah.
He's not gonna.
Are you? You're just saying this.
He's
Nah,
not
Don't-
I haven't-
don't lie
I
to
haven't
me.
yet. I haven't
Look me in
yet.
the eye. Don't lie to.
I mean, I don't know when I'm going to, but
He likes tennis.
tennis is fun.
Tennis is tight. Tennis is fun. I just hate that you really need to be skilled at tennis to play tennis.
Yeah.
Pickleball, you don't need to be very skilled to just play pickleball. You can still have fun being totally unskilled at pickleball, but to be good, obviously you need some level of skill.
Yeah. But still, like anything with a ball, like I feel like I'm a dog.
Oh yeah.
Like I will stop thinking about everything else in this world when I see a ball moving. Right. It
It's
could be
also interesting to
basketball,
think about
tennis,
how
anything.
we're just a bunch of, like, in many ways we're almost the same 18-year-olds that we are at 30, but
with worse
it's
bodies.
so weird to think that when you're 20 you just thought like, oh my gosh, when you're 30 you're old.
It's all relative. I can't wait to be 80 or like 100. I can't wait.
That's awesome.
I really
love
can't
when you hear
wait.
something for the first time. I love that.
Well, also it's like you want to embrace what will inevitably happen. I mean, unless I get hit by a bus, right? But you want to embrace the inevitable. That's why, like, this is controversial, but I look forward to death, like whatever that's going to be, right? Because it's inevitable. And then it allows me to live my life every day like, oh, this is a gift. This is amazing. I'm still looking forward to it because I don't want to shy away from, what's...
Did you develop that thought through like drugs or through just thought or philosophy?
Drugs and lots of books and just that little voice within me that wants to examine everything. I went through a period of about 5-6 years where I really did question everything.
Like, that's the depression state you were talking about?
I think a lot of the questions led into the depression, and then you almost have to power through it. Like the obstacle is the way a lot of the time. Like you have to go through the obstacle to get to where you want to go, right? You have to go into the belly of the beast. And I feel like...
Which is a great argument for psychedelics.
Yeah, I feel like you should do them at least once in your life. For sure. And
I'm still working my way up.
what does that mean?
Just like mushrooms.
Mm.
Like I believe in microdosing. I believe in mushrooms. I've read a lot of great material on them. I've watched a great Netflix documentary exists. Fantastic fungi. And,
Yeah, you told me. I gotta
It's just interesting. It's like fascinating. Like, I love the story of the guy that stuttered his whole life and then did 5 grams of mushrooms and fixed his stutter overnight.
Yeah, or even someone that's successful, like an Aaron Rodgers who took ayahuasca.
But I'm also mad scared because I low-key just don't want to be that dude that does a bunch of acid and just never recovers. So that's why I'm still a huge kind of...
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I'm a softie with drugs. So if someone ever gives me
it's
something...
It's the intent. It's with anything in life. Whatever your intention is. Like, I wouldn't do anything recreationally anymore. I do everything like with an intention, right? Write down, think like a kid again. Because also... as we age, we develop these transmitters in our brains. But actually, if you do the brain scans of someone who is on a psychedelic, it actually removes some of these connections. You would think that, I'm getting all these connections. But no, it's actually the exact opposite. If you look at MRIs, of people on psychedelics, and you end up getting to the core of who you really are. And it almost makes you a kid again. And that's why, like, in preparation for, writing, I might do a little bit just to like get into a particular mode of thought, but also always the intention is good. You have to have the right set and setting.
I mean, that's a sure bet. If I could just bet on the overall growth of the mushroom industry in the next 20 years, that's the most sure bet possible.
There are public companies out there right now. There's MindMed that's trading on some stock exchange. I think Oregon just legalized it. Was it? They legalized mushrooms. Johns Hopkins does amazing research on psychedelics. The 60s, Timothy Leary, that's what he was doing.
On that subject, didn't they just sign a bill that officially lets people that are in jail for weed out of jail?
I know that I saw a tweet that Biden gave this week, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure something like that went down.
I think it's just a push to do it, but it has to pass.
Seems.
I think it's some midterm.
That seems very presidential. We're gonna forgive your student loans, or at least some of it.
Well, it's we need voters for the midterm. Like, we're doing great things. Not everything is all going to shit.
Yeah. I love the idea that you need to create your own society and your own world and way of thinking. So regardless who's in office, it doesn't affect you.
Exactly.
Some may call that irresponsible. Like, no, it's your duty to inform, but I don't know, dude. Like,
well, again, taking all this context into consideration, like back when our country was founded, and I read the Constitution twice, probably once every 2 months or so, just because I just have it and it's a quick read. And if you look at the historical context of these documents, we had 1.5 million people in the 13 colonies when this country was founded. For people, I don't care what side you're on, but for the Second Amendment, we had the citizens had the same weapons as the government, right? So if you're saying, we have the right to bear arms, it's like, and a well-regulated militia, you need to have like the same advantages of and disadvantages of the government, just muskets, right? And bayonets. That's what they had. So it's like now when you have, unmanned drones, you need to frame the argument different. And I believe Thomas Jefferson said something to the effect of, if we wore the same jacket when you're an adult as to when you were 5 years old, you'd be looked at like an idiot. And that's what, and obviously that was well butchered quote.
Yeah, Joe Rogan said something like, if our forefathers ever saw us now, the first thing they would say is, what, you didn't write any new shit?
Yeah, exactly. Was that in Strange Times? That's his special.
Probably it was.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
It has to be because I think it's like one of the first thing that shows up as the trailer.
Yeah, his 2017 special is amazing.
Yeah,
really amazing.
Man, dude, I just realized we've been at this, and I love it because normally our podcasts are like an hour, but I just love naturally speaking to you. It's got to be like 90 minutes, 2 hours here going on.
Hour 23.
Hour 23. Yeah, this is just good energy.
Yeah.
Man. So. We got to do this more often.
Yeah.
And I would also love to have you on to co-host some podcasts too.
Hell yeah.
I just love the way you think about things. And even when we bring on new guests, I'm going to let you know, especially if there's like a thing, if you want to come in and we'll just get some convos going.
Dude, I'd love to. I'd love to be your Guillermo.
Guillermo.
Or yeah, from, I don't know, your sidekick, so to speak. But this guy's a sleeper. I gotta hang with him more.
Oh yeah. Well,
That's what I learned from that, because I only met you once at that dinner, and you were in work mode, but no, I gotta.
Not too much time for chit chat there.
You're a good dude.
Yeah, we'll hang.
Yeah, you're
maybe
a
not
good dude.
pickleball. I can't promise that, but
You know what?
football,
I can help you
watching
plant
football
something
games.
here. Yeah, whatever. What exactly? Football.
We're building a whole patio for the ice bath, so
Yeah, we're gonna do
Shit's
we're gonna
going
turn this
down.
place into a straight vibe. So it's already a vibe, but it's gonna be. We want to do like wellness retreats where people come over and we do a
Nice.
full day of sauna, ice bath, meditation,
Love it.
like
Love
that
it.
vibe.
Listen, if you need free manual labor, don't go to Home Depot. I'm your guy. All right.
I'm gonna take you up on it.
Yeah.
How
Love it.
can people on the show connect with you, find out about your children's books in the future, and get more Evan in their lives?
For now, you can't. I'm off of most social media because, I realized for me, it makes me, it's not conducive to the way I like to live. I like having conversations, things that, I don't take pictures of anything. And I'll get better when I want to promote something that I care about. But as of now, shoot me a LinkedIn, Evan Paliotta, Paliotta.
Evan Paliotta,
Yep,
the man,
that's it.
the myth. This is the Damn Good Day show. Oh, I forgot the one question I forgot to ask. If you could go back in time and you could have told yourself at 16 years old, you at 30 to you at 16, and you could have said something that could have saved you a ton of time, money, heartache, headache. And naturally, the best answer is I wouldn't have said anything because it made me who I am today. Or I would have invested in Bitcoin or any of that stuff. What is maybe something that you would have told yourself? Or two things?
Be more curious. I was much more curious when I left, college than when I got there. So I would just say, be more curious, ask a ton of questions, just try to get better every day. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to who you were, and know yourself a little bit more. I also would have given myself a stack of books. That's for sure.
Yeah, that would be tough though. Halo 3 was raging back then.
Oh, and
I wasn't gonna read it.
Modern Warfare 4. Modern Warfare 2 was it? Like the Call of Duty 4, whatever that was. Oof, so many hours spent, all the wasted time. But you know what? We had fun, got you to where you are today, and yeah, life's not to be taken too seriously. Laugh at yourself.
True.
So it's like, whatever, you wasted time. All right. Keep moving forward. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. I was playing a lot of video games. Now I'm a different
And
guy.
if you're having
right?
trouble moving forward, talk to a good friend that'll help you move forward.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's all you need. You just need to talk to someone else and just talk.
Yeah. Be open. Be vulnerable. It's okay. Nothing.
Tell us how you feel.
The worst possible scenario is really probably not that bad.
Whenever you think that
about
we're
it.
all just going to be dead in like 50, 60 years, like no matter what, it really like dwells things down.
Yeah. It's like, and that's why I said I look forward to it, because I'm like, oh, then all this is a gift. And the odds of us being here are even so little. If you really do the math, it's so little.
Present is called a gift because you're in the present, or the present is a gift. What's that saying go?
I'm going to butcher it.
You know what I'm talking about though?
Yeah. Like life is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Something like that.
We ended on that. That's how it is. This is the Damn Good Day show. Till next time. This is a damn good day to have a damn good day.